All right, so thanks everyone for joining us today. Today we are talking with Lorraine and Rogers. They are the farmers of Redrange Farm, and we understand that a lot of people, especially our customers, are very concerned about where their food comes from. Everybody would, in an ideal world, like to know where their food comes from. And today we're going to get to meet two of our farmers for Dr. Cowan's garden. So we are working with them and have been working with them for a few months on a line of biodynamic herbs, and we're launching those today. And we thought that we should share where they came from and who grew them. And so with that, welcome Rogers and Red and Rogers. And together they make up Redrange Farm. So welcome, and thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. So yeah, I thought we would start off, maybe tell us a little bit about your farm and how you guys got started.
Okay. Back about 11 years ago or 12 years ago, we bought a little farm, and my beautiful wife here is a city girl. Didn't know farming, didn't know animals, but we bought the place for a home, and I talked her into a couple of chickens and a couple of goats.
Nice.
And she enjoyed that, and so we added a few more chickens and a few more goats and a couple of sheep and then a couple of dogs to watch the sheep. And then the gardens went from 100 by 50 feet to acre and a quarter, and it just kept growing, and we wound up feeding ourselves. That was the initial plan, and then that expanded to feeding our neighbors and friends, and it's still expanding. And the one of the things that she likes to joke about, I said, let's get a few chickens. And because I have a farming background, I said, let's start out with 100. She about fell over. And so we wound up with 50. We compromised.
Meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So so initially you were going to start sort of as a way to feed yourself, but then it grew from there. So what are some of the things that you're growing now commercially?
Okay, now we're doing a lot of everything. We're doing beets, carrots, cucumbers, garlic, all different kind of greens, Asian greens, lettuce greens, sweet and hot peppers, different types of onions. Tomatoes is one of our big things we do. We do about 8 different varieties of heirloom tomatoes. Herbs is my passion. Always had an herb garden, so we're doing culinary and medicinal herbs.
Great. And you guys went from certified organic to Demeter certified, which is biodynamic.
Well, kind of, sort of.
All right.
We never went organic certified. We were using organic principles as we saw them. We didn't agree with some of their standards. So we were doing that, and I met an amazing gentleman, and he came down to view our gardens. Long story there, I don't want to tell it, but it's embarrassing. But a young man showed up here, and he walked into our garden and said, wow, this is amazing what you're doing. And he said, are you blah, 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 blah? And I said, what's that? Well, biodynamic. Did you ever hear that? I said, no, I never heard of it. So he gave me a book, and I started reading about it. And lo and behold, we were doing it already without knowing it. And it was with the principles that we believed in. Preserving the earth, actually restoring the earth, and taking care of your livestock, treating them like living things, not a steak.
Mhm.
And yeah, it changed the whole way we do things, and that it matched what we believed in.
Yeah.
And that young man is still around, Joe Cowan is the guy
Oh,
who came
I know
down.
him. I know him
Yeah,
very
you met
well.
him once.
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
once or twice.
yeah,
Awesome. So
And
could you tell us, give us a little bit more details about, you know, the principles that you talked about, the principles of biodynamics. From my understanding, it's sort of like a closed ecosystem where no outside inputs are allowed on the farm. But could you dive in deeper and tell us about some of the principles of biodynamics?
well, biodynamics, a key thing for me is I come from a forestry background as well as the farming. And we treat a forest like a living organism.
Mhm.
The trees feed the squirrels bury the nuts, which makes a new tree. The frogs eat insects, keep insect under control. But you take any part of that away and it doesn't work anymore.
Mhm.
And we've experienced it throughout the world that our environments are collapsing. And that is a vital part of our beliefs. So we need to have animals on the farm,
Mhm.
and we use them to fertilize. We always have goats, even though there isn't a market for goats in this area. The goats control a lot of the weeds that other animals won't eat. It keeps the pasture clean.
Mhm.
The cattle and the sheep eat the grass for the most part. And we even found a caracal that is a little less selective than other breeds of sheep. It's a heritage breed, and they also help maintain the pastures in a good state.
Mhm.
We cut some of our own hay for winter feeding. We do have to import some, and our fertilizer comes from our animals for our gardens. We get our mulch right on property for the most part. We do use some wood chips and leftover hay for mulch, but keeping everything in balance, no pesticides, no herbicides. And one of the really cool things as we are working with the gardens, a lot of these things that we traditionally call weeds taste really good too.
Mhm.
The dandelions, burdock. The
Mhm.
burdock leaf ain't that good. I don't recommend that, but the root's really good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's times like we see mullein growing. We'll just let it grow.
Mhm.
You know, if we're right there in the garden, then we'll harvest it later for teas. And
Mhm.
but yeah, keeping everything in balance is the crucial thing, and building all the time.
Yeah.
Building that soil. The soil is the basis of everything. The microorganisms in the soil are absolutely vital to
Mhm.
making everything work.
Yeah, could you dive in a little bit deeper on soil building, because you know often you know the health of the soil is so important, you know, for a farm, and then you can sort of extrapolate that out for a farm, for a nation, for everything. You know, the health of the soil is everything, because if you don't have healthy soil, you won't be able to grow healthy food, and without healthy food, you don't grow health. We don't grow healthy bodies, and you know, when we're not healthy, a lot of things break down. So could you talk, you know, maybe go into a little bit more details on how you build the healthy soil?
Well, the soils, we save all of our weeds, we save all of our produce that goes beyond sellable, the waste products. We'll make a huge compost pile, and we add the biodynamic preparations to that.
Mhm.
5 different herbs that take and attract the proper microorganisms
Mhm.
to the compost pile. And we turn that periodically. We get it up to about 150 degrees is where we want to get it to get to kill the seeds, the
Mhm.
weed seeds that might be in there. And that also lets us know that it is actively decomposing.
Mhm.
We then spread that on the gardens and we lightly till it in. And in some cases, we don't even till it in, we plant right in the mulch.
Mhm.
Like one of the ways we found to do grow burdock, we grow it in hay bales with a small coating of our compost. And at the end of the season, we can then, that becomes our fertilizer, our compost for that area of the garden. We till it all in and move our burdock someplace else and do
Yeah.
the same thing, grow them in the hay bales. Another important thing that I don't see mentioned nearly enough is using stone dust.
Okay.
Put that on the gardens because the micronutrients that are they're not in the soil anymore.
Yeah, minerals, right? That would be really good for minerals.
Yeah, so take some stone dust and just lightly spread it on or throw it in the compost, either way, and we're getting those minerals that are missing in the soil.
Yeah.
And we try to keep building our depth of our soil. When we started, where we have our gardens now, when we started there, everywhere as we dug, if you found a earthworm,
You're
it
lucky.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Now, every time you dig in, you're finding earthworms.
Yeah.
And that is an indicator of the health of the soil.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about pest control, because I don't know if but many people are led to believe that you need to take care of your pests in a unnatural way, meaning spray them with pesticides and make sure that they're not eating the plants, and you're essentially killing the insects or pests with a poison that, it might be a small amount for us, but it still adds up over time, and over time can create some negative health effects, let's say. So how do you, as biodynamic farmers, control the pests without using any of these synthetic chemicals that a lot of commercial farmers?
Very carefully. It's what we try to do. What came first, chicken or the egg? And the same thing goes with your insects. There's good insects and bad insects. Some of the good insects take care of your pollinating. Without pollination, we have no food. Right. So, and then there's other insects that eat insects. One of my favorites, just because it looks so mean and nasty, is the assassin bug or assassin beetle. It looks like an assassin in a movie or something. It's an amazing little critter. It's our friend. It takes and kills and eats other insects. So when you use a pesticide, it's pretty indiscriminate. It kills everything. Yep. You're good, you're bad, you're pollinators. So what we do, we're striving, what came first, chicken or the egg? The predator or the prey? Which came first? Research has shown that as the prey grows in numbers, the predator will follow it. And at some point, you get enough predators that are going to drive down the prey. And what you wind up with when you first start this, you go through some pretty bad crop damage. Now, so you got this wave of bad insects, and it's being followed though by good insects. At some point, it takes over the prey and drives it down. And then you have more predators and prey, and you start losing, but this wave action just keeps going and going until it starts leveling out. And that's what you're aiming for, is a healthy environment with good and bad insects.
Mhm.
And when you get there, you're still going to have some damage, but it's minor.
Mhm.
And now to get to that, we allow all the insects to coexist. And we help it along a little bit by we hand pick. And that can be extremely tiring. Some are almost fun to hand pick. The Japanese beetle, that's an easy one. It takes about an hour to go around to pick them.
Mhm.
The caterpillars, not so much fun because they're really good hiders.
Mhm.
You'll be looking right at them and not see them because they'll be along the stem and they just blend so well.
Can't look.
And but hand pick as many as you can, and that helps the predator keep up with the load. And it's important though that you know the good from the bad.
Yes.
We did have a problem last year. We had 3 types of moths just devastated our greenage, but we had to let it happen
Mhm.
so that we got more of the predators in looking for them, for the prey.
Is there anything you can do to attract more of the predators there, like maybe planting different types of flowers or something like that?
My companion plant.
That's her department.
My companion planting. That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. I try to do. Last year, yes, we did have 3 different kind of caterpillars that came in and devastated, but it was a learning curve as well. Now the research is done. You know, how did it start out? What did the egg look like? How did it look when it first hatched? And the end result, which wasn't nice, but now the research on how do you prevent that from happening again. The first year I grew kale, it looked like lace. And it was devastating to me. And I was talking to my neighbor and she came over and I was crying. And I'm like, well, if I don't figure it out, you know, I need to figure this out. So I did a lot of research, come to find out if I plant catnip next to the kale, the mint scent will keep away that particular moth, which will keep away the egg and, you know, the hatching and so on and so forth. So I do companion planting through the whole garden now.
Yeah.
It brings in your beneficials, your bees, your birds that are going to attract and, you know, the nectar and the pollinators, and then the plants to keep away the nasty ones and the rabbits and the deer and so on and so forth. So that's what I do. A lot of companion planting.
Yeah.
That their particular case that she's talking about was we were getting beat pretty bad on our greenage.
Mhm.
And she planted a row of catnip on either side of a row of kale.
Mhm.
And all the other kale throughout the garden, in the high tunnel and different locations we had it in the gardens, were getting eaten. But their row down between the catnip,
It's beautiful.
wasn't touched. So yeah, it's amazing the way some of these work.
And
Do you
this is
think that-
over the course of years as well, like researching and practicing and trying it. And did it fail? Did it not fail? You know, and the outcome of it.
Do you think that would work for all brassicas? You know, because I last year my broccoli got these caterpillars, and it's like you want to. It was a beautiful head of broccoli, but you know, these caterpillars, they can sneak up in there and they're very hard to see. So would that work for all brassicas?
I believe
Catnip?
so. I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm doing, I would like to do a series on it. Like, this is what it looks like when it first comes in. This is what the moth looks like. This is what the egg looks like. And this is the end result.
Mhm.
So yes.
Yeah,
How
to
much
me,
time, like sort of on a daily basis, does it take to sort of watch, notice, and monitor these situations?
A typical day, we wind up down at the gardens. Well, I wind up at she's second shift. I wind up down at the gardens at around 7 a.m.
Uh-huh.
All the animals are fed and watered, and I then go down, start cutting and weeding. And doing the maintenance on the gardens. And somewheres as the day starts heating up, it's time to take a break, sit back, relax a little bit. And we have chairs down there. We'll sit and watch the sun go. And then we go back to work. And it's not unusual. We're down there 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we go back down some days. One, it's a really cool place to hang out.
Yeah.
But there's some prey there that also goes in our freezer.
Okay.
Rabbits and deer
Yeah.
are good in the freezer, so that's a side benefit.
Yeah. Do you have a big rabbit and deer problem?
Not a big one, but it gets our attention from time to time. The rabbits in particular, no matter, excuse me, no matter how many you put in the freezer, they seem to be more coming in.
Yeah.
Deer, you can usually take out a couple of them and then you're good.
Okay.
Just because they have territories.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take out a couple, they were the ones that were using your garden as part of their territory,
Mm-hmm.
and you're good for a while until somebody else, another one finds your garden.
Do you have fencing around your gardens to keep any of these out?
We have fencing, but all the prey can come right over it, through it,
Yeah.
around it. It's there. We do, in the off season, we do put dogs down there.
Mm-hmm.
And let them run around and
Mark their territory.
yeah. But I think last year they actually the deer might have paid off the dogs because I'd see the dog laying there just kind of doing nothing, and deer on the other end of the garden. I think they worked out some type of agreement, but
Sounds like it.
we're trying to correct that.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it.
To get back to your prior question, like when I go down and I look at the garden, say, okay, this is what's going to be ready to harvest to sell. When I'm doing that count, then I kind of look at it like that's my survey of the whole garden. I'll look at it. Yes, it's ready to harvest, like it's ready to sell, but I also look at it, is there any pests bothering it? And that's when I do, the first look in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it's a pretty quick sweep.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take
Where are you selling a lot of your produce?
online. We sell it online, and they either pick up here or at the local farmer markets.
Okay, great. So like a CSA type of relationship?
We don't do a CSA. What our preferences, we do a couple of farmers markets, but we prefer people coming to the garden. And we walk them around. We actually do the picking, but we prefer that because a tomato is best at its peak ripeness being picked from the vine.
Yeah.
But it's only going to last a day, 2 days.
Yeah.
So if you want it for the week, you need to cut them at different stages.
Right.
And we also get, during that time, we get to talk about the Three Sisters gardens and the way Native Americans farmed, which fits in beautifully with the biodynamics. But that's our preferred customers, walking around. We introduce them to the animals, and then we can talk about, why do you want to get a young lamb as opposed to mutton? And how to prepare it. People have this nasty habit of overcooking lamb. It's very frustrating. But but that's our preferred customers that come down and hang out with us, look around, and we are completely open. Anybody's welcome to come in anytime. And if we're down there, we'll give them a tour.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing opportunity and experience. Could you tell if someone might be, if some of our customers might be in the area, could you tell them where you guys are located, and maybe give your website and those types of things so that they could get in touch with you?
Absolutely. The garden's located at 590 Footdale Road. It's Footedale Road, New Salem, Pennsylvania, 15468.
And that's sort of maybe an hour away from Pittsburgh-ish?
It is,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's for the gardens. And the phone number 724-963-6192. Call and we can make arrangements to get anybody in, or if you just want to look online, Redrange Farm, www.redrange Farm. And we also have a Facebook, it's Redrange Farm LLC.
Mhm. Awesome.
And so you get all the information, and yeah, we welcome everybody to see what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I
Ask
know a lot of
questions.
our customers, if they're in the area, I'm sure this would be something that they would be interested in. But for now, let's talk about what you're growing for us. So we are releasing, we're recording this the week before we're actually releasing the product, but we're releasing 3 different herbs. So could you tell us a little bit about those?
We are releasing with your help. You're releasing with our
Right.
help. Thyme, oregano, and
Sage.
sage this
Yes.
time. Yes, yes, really excited, really excited.
So yeah, could you tell us about the process? You know, what's involved in growing, drying, all that stuff.
Right now, we started everything by seed. Everything is started from seed here on the farm, and we use organic material to start the seeds.
Mhm.
And a little bit of the biodynamic compost. So it started here. It was planted in the garden. We did about 700 plants of each variety.
Wow.
Let it come to harvest, and then we dried it on low temperature in our dehydrators. And then it'll be packaged and sent to you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the drying is, we're at odds about that. I'm a production type guy, but she's quality.
Mhm.
And I want to dry it faster, but she
Yeah.
won't let me. It's dried very slowly and maintains a beautiful color
Yes.
and aroma.
Yeah.
And I got to go with her. She
Yeah.
does put out a nice product.
I will say I have tried them and smelled them, and they are absolutely fantastic. The smell and flavor of these are, you know, it's unlike, you know, you think like, okay, you know, I bought thyme or I bought oregano, you know, from a store. It's not like this. This is something that's on another level from what most people have experienced.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yes.
And we're keeping with the biodynamic, because I feel that if you keep the leaf as whole as possible until use, you're getting the best benefit from it all the way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Thank
true.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, we gave everyone, I think, a good rundown of the farm, of the farming practices that you guys use, of where they could find out more about you guys and actually go and become customers themselves from the farm. So is there anything else you'd like to share?
I would like to see more people come by and visit.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So maybe it will put a little note in the email, because you know we have customers from all around the country, and if anyone's in the Western Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania area, definitely check this one out, because you know, obviously you guys are doing a lot of good things. How long have we been working together? At least like 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yes. Yes.
So that, yeah, you guys have grown. This is the first year that we're doing herbs specifically, but you guys have grown peppers, squash, and a variety of other things for a variety of different products that we've sold over the years. So really amazing farm, obviously amazing people, and hope you guys check them out, especially if you're in the Western Pennsylvania area. And yeah, thanks for joining and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.